Hey, everybody, it's Lou Santiago, and tonight we have the OG of automotive TV. The guy has been on TV since Jesus was walking the earth. Not that that's a bad thing. It's really not. But we all know Stacey David has been doing TV for a long time. He started out on trucks. He left RTM production and trucks, and he went and did his own deal under Rattle Trap Productions, which is his, and it's GearZ. And I think he's been on doing GearZ like 12, 15 years. I do know when I went to RTM to do Muscle Car, Stacy left the week before I did, so I had to wait till SEMA to see him. So, to meet him, I should say, because I knew who he was. Who doesn't? He's that guy. He's done this stuff forever, which is awesome because that shows you if you're teaching, you can get longevity. And that's what I tell everybody they need to do. However, the networks don't like you teaching. But yeah, what do they know? They're not car guys. It's just that simple. But let's do the commercial. Let's make this happen. And we'll get John in here and we'll make it all happen. So you guys bring in John, do whatever we got to do, Ken. Let's just make it happen. Let's get this ball rolling.
Ever wonder what happened to your favorite Hollywood stars? Some are screen legends.
That's a Cadillac.
Some made history.
What do you say? Is it the new Bluesmobile or what?
One thing's for sure, they all have more to tell. Road trip with me, Lou Santiago, as I hunt down these iconic cars.
The car's actually stolen. My kids said, Dad, you're not going to believe what's over here.
And take you behind the scenes to get the story behind the story.
I'm gonna have the car do the same thing. Pow, bang, wow.
From the designers who built them, the stars that drove them, and the lucky motherfuckers who stumbled across them. Where was his car when you found it? Pull in there, pull in there. Dude, tell me you have your hands on it. You're not gonna believe some of this stuff.
Hey, yo, John.
Yeah, why do you look blurry? What the hell's going on with your internet?
I don't know. I mean, I look fine.
A few minutes ago you looked perfect. Now
I think you need to clean your glasses. Oh wait, you don't have them on.
Missing my glue.
I know what the problem is. You need to drink more.
All right, hold up. I'm ready.
Oh, you got the big glass.
I got the big glass. I got a little bit of vodka in there. I'm halfway done. I started early. But,
okay, real quick before we get too deep into this, I got an email from a guy named Rick Brochard.
Yeah,
and they invited me to the 24th annual Fleming's Pumpkin Run. It's on the 6th of November in Egg Harbor Township, New Jersey. It's about 10 miles south of Atlantic City. I'm not going to be able to go, but one of the things that they said they have here is they have a pumpkin chunking cannon. Who doesn't want
You would have taken that home. They're better off. You would have taken that home. You would have loaded it up and taken.
Dude, I would have, at a minimum, I would have found out how you make one because, I could have a blast with that. Yeah. So I just wanted to let you guys know that
So you're not going to make it.
If you're in the Egg Harbor, enjoy.
That's this weekend, is it not? Is that when is it?
November 6th.
Oh,
November 6th. Yeah.
Okay.
I just think it'd be. I would go, but I just do with my back all fouled up. I'm having trouble with it. I'm gonna have to get an MRI. Now my other leg is burning. So I don't know. I don't know. I gotta wait and see. I'll know more. I get my appointment tomorrow. So as soon as I know more, I'll let you know. But yeah, it's crazy.
Yeah.
But that's about it, man.
We're falling apart. We're getting old.
I destroyed my back long before I was old.
I gotta tell you, Stacy's running behind.
He's running behind.
Yeah, I text him, tell him we're up. I'm hoping he doesn't have his time zones different. I hit him up, texted him.
Did you tell him that? He knows we're Eastern time.
He knows we're Eastern. He knows. Maybe something happened. I don't know. I mean, he was texting and emailing today, yesterday, day before.
Huh? Hold on.
He's in. He's on. Ken just texted me. Ken says he's on.
Okay.
He's here.
I was ready to say that's not like Stacy. I was ready to say
I had me scared for a second. I was scared.
I know you were. You were
scared.
And you know what? I want to thank all the guys that are in right now watching the show. You know, on the right-hand side, the comments. I want to thank those guys because a lot of these guys are the ones who come on. They come every week, you know, and that's really awesome. I appreciate that till no end because, you know, it's helping us make a better show.
I don't know if you checked, but last week we were talking mail in your cars, mail in your stuff. We did get a bunch of emails, and there was some badass builds in there.
So then, all right. So you want to do it next week, where we go through some of them?
Next week is Bad Chat.
Okay.
Why don't we do it on the 10th of November?
10th of November. All right, November 10th.
Yeah, once in a while we got, you know what I was thinking is we either have them come on, have them call in, talk them through. See, there's one. Dude, this
that's cool.
Young guy, 17-year-old kid, Eric, put this together. Hopefully he's watching. Yeah, I think he is.
Yeah, I'm down.
But yeah, he sent this in, said he went through hell. He straightened his act out. He's putting this together. I'm like, you know what? That's badass. I'd run that around.
Yeah. Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah. Dude, that's
But there was a bunch. We got a link, you know, when we were talking about my Cadillac build, we got a link in, guy sent over, said, check this out, maybe give you inspiration. 49 Cadillac guy was built. I got to tell you, I was going to dig that guy out because he did a crazy job. I'm looking at some of the stuff he's doing. I'm like, who's this dude? Because this thing is crazy cool. Yeah. I mean, it looked exactly like the drawing. His work was flawless. He's doing taillights that were pretty nutty. I was like, wait, what? I mean, it was pretty nice.
There's a lot of talent out there that nobody knows about. We could cruise around the country just checking out people's projects, which I think would be a blast. You know, I think it would be a blast. Just get like 10 projects and spend the summer just doing it. And maybe we can get someone to sponsor it and we do that, man. How cool!
I'll tell you what, not for nothing, but it's a perfect time to talk about that because both you and Stacy, I'm sure, without a doubt, are part of that drive. Because when we were kids, you didn't have the tools that we got now. Nobody did, you know, things that you see now.
Right.
The quality has gone way up. I see guys that are doing metal work that's just flawless. You know, years ago, people didn't do that. Everybody has stepped their game up. 20 years ago, the metal work wasn't even the same. I mean, people, you know, did sheet metal, took metal and sheets and made a fender out of it. But now you see guys fab stuff up that's like totally ridiculous. That 49 Cadillac was just like that.
Yeah.
That guy actually, I mean, he's got mad skills.
Yeah, I mean, seriously, we need to do that. So one of the guys wanted to know in the comments, wanted to know what was the network. It was the Nashville network, and then it changed to Spike TV. And then from Spike TV, it went to Paramount, which is now a streaming service. That's how the network, you know, went through its life. Yeah. Because Stacy, if I remember correctly, he started on the Nashville network and then it morphed into Spike. Yeah. So
next week, like I said, Bad Chat. The third week, 27th Wednesday, I'll be out. Got a special guest host.
I know, right? Okay, so here's the deal, guys. For everybody within earshot, John's anniversary is in 2 weeks.
Now my wife's birthday.
I'm sorry, his Linda's birthday is in 2 weeks. So John has to go out with his wife and make nice. You know. Yeah, you know. Man's got to do what he's got to do.
Oh, don't feel sorry for me. Don't feel sorry for me.
I feel sorry for you because you're only allowed to talk about it.
Yeah, you know what? You may be right. You know what I mean?
Just remember, the booty you don't take is the booty you don't get.
Yeah. November 3rd. What? November 3rd, we got Joe and Amanda Martin.
Because, you know, we need to talk about his podcast and everything, all right? Let's do that. Let's get that. Let's get this.
You want to go to the DEI commercial then?
Yeah, let's go to the DEI commercial. Come on.
Yeah, we can't see that enough. Let's do that. I need another drink, I think.
You should wonder what happened to your favorite Hollywood stars? Some are screen legends.
That's a Cadillac.
Some made history.
What do you say? Is it the new Bluesmobile or what?
One thing's for sure, they all have more to tell. Road trip with me, Lou Santiago, as I hunt down these iconic cars.
car's actually stolen. My kids said, Dad, you're not going to believe what's over here.
And take you behind the scenes to get the story behind the story.
I'm gonna have the car do the same thing. Pow, bang, wow.
From the designers who built them, the stars that drove them, and the lucky motherfuckers who stumbled across them. Where was his car when you found it? Pull in there, pull in there. Dude, tell me you have your hands on it. You're not gonna believe some of this stuff. Ever wonder what happened to your favorite Hollywood star?
Stacy, what's up, man?
How you doing, man? I've been enjoying.
I'm doing good, man. Dude, you're getting some gray hair, man. What the hell?
Oh yeah, no,
Look
I've
who's
been working
talking.
on it for a long time. I got my racing story.
I hear you.
So, dude, how's it been? I haven't talked to you in forever. How's it been? What do you got going on?
Oh, all kinds of stuff, man. I'm going out to the Mecum auction this weekend.
Oh, cool. Where at?
Got one of the cars in there, down in Chattanooga.
Okay.
And so getting ready for that. I literally just got in here about 20 minutes ago. And I was sitting backstage and you guys are like, Stacy's not here. I'm like, no, really, I'm backstage. John's like, yeah, I don't know what's wrong with him, man.
Dude, don't worry about it. We're running by the seat of our
I'm
pants. It's not
texting,
a
I'm doing all
big deal.
kinds of stuff.
Yeah, it's not a big deal.
I was panicking a little bit. I was panicking. I was like,
John gets nervous. I don't. You know, the way I see it is no one's shooting at me, so it's all good.
Yeah.
You know, I was laughing at your story because, you know, you don't know this. I was when I was working at RTM and they brought in all the audition tapes, they brought in your audition tape, Lou. And
Oh,
they're like,
did
what
they?
do you think of this guy? Because a lot of the people, you know, that were auditioning, they were like actors and all that kind of stuff. And they brought you in. They're like, we don't know about this guy. I took one look at you and I'm like, you gotta hire that guy. So they're like, really? You think so? And I said, first of all, he's ex-military, so that's awesome. And we just gotta, you know, so yeah.
For real.
And then, you know, I was on my way out the door. So so it was on you by yourself then.
Yeah.
What
year was that? Like 98?
No,
That's gotta be.
it was like
my first year was 98. And I think, and I left trucks in after 05, so 06.
Yeah.
So
yeah, because when I got there, they said Stacy had just left. They said you left a week before. That was what I was told. So yeah.
And they didn't say it that nicely either.
No. And that, you know, now I'm gonna tell you. I'm just gonna tell you. One time, you know, Patty, John, Patty was one of the owners. It was a husband and wife team, and Patty was one of the owners.
Yeah.
And me and Patty would go at it. Oh God, it was bad. It was bad.
I think everybody did.
I didn't care what I said. You know what I mean? It just didn't matter to me. And we were talking about the projects and all that stuff. And she goes, Stacey David stole from me. I'm like, oh, okay. So
sure.
What did he steal? And she goes, he stole an engine. I said, well, you know, that's grand larceny. You can press charges. And she just looked at me kind of baffled because I knew you didn't steal it. You know what I mean? He was like, you're not gonna steal. It was I think it was a Mopar engine, Indy cylinder heads. It was for one of the projects. I think it was for Sergeant Rock, wasn't it?
Yeah.
And she was like, "Oh, he stole it." I'm like, "Then press charges." I knew she couldn't do shit because you didn't steal it. Oh God.
Stacey, I don't know if you picked up yet, but you're promoting him to get a job. As soon as he walks in, he's going, arrest the man, arrest him.
yeah, exactly.
A little bit of a difference here.
But I knew she was full of shit. I knew she was.
Get the nightstick.
We were going at it one time, and she said, so she would say crazy stuff to me. Just crazy. Yeah. She told me one time that I would be nothing without her in RTM. All I would ever have amounted to is a guy in his shop building his car. And I was like, wow, that's pretty fucked up. Yeah. But you know, and then I said to her, you know, but then I just threw the reply on the table. I just threw it on the table. Just because a woman gives a blowjob in a phone booth, that doesn't make her a call girl. And she just looked at me.
Holy mackerel.
She was like, whoa. Yeah. Crazy. We had, I would say some, oh God. people would just be amazed. They would just be, their jaws would be on the floor.
Oh yeah, yeah. And some of the battles, that from the early days, people don't even realize to what shirt I was wearing was a struggle.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah. Crazy.
An echo out of Stacy.
Crazy.
But anyway.
It just makes no sense. But anyway, the hell with that. Let's move on. You're still doing GearZ, right?
Yeah. Yeah. We just finished season 15 into season 16.
Yeah. So for those who don't know, where can they find you? Because I know you've moved around a bit, with your own deal.
Yeah, we had a really good deal with Speed, and then when Speed went away, it got really hard,
Right?
And because the barter deals kind of went away.
Okay.
So we went to Motor Trend, which was Velocity, and then it's now Motor Trend. So we're on Motor Trend Saturday mornings at 8:00, but we're on MAV TV all the time. And MAV is really stepping up kind of to be this, like what Speed used to be. A lot of racing, a lot of cool stuff. And of course, we have our own thing on GearZ Nation. We're on YouTube. We're on Amazon Prime. We have a restoration series show on Amazon Prime as well. So we got a bunch of stuff out there. But the best place to get it is either right on GearZ Nation or MAV TV.
Okay.
And we're putting all of our stuff up on Amazon, all the archives as well. So you can kind of go through the seasons and stuff, because there's a lot of stuff that people have missed. And they go, well, whatever happened to this? It's like, well, I finished that 4 years ago.
Yeah.
So
it's, it's crazy when you have, when you've been on TV a while. Like I remember a few years, probably like 5 years ago at SEMA, I'm talking to these guys and they're from Brazil and they're asking me about muscle car. I'm like, dude, I've been out of there 12 years. They had just gotten it in Brazil. It was like I would have never expected that. It was just like it caught me off guard. You know what I mean? I'd done Ultimate Car Build Off. We were in like season 5 of Car Fix. It's like muscle car.
yeah. I tell you what's crazy. Man. We've got GearZ in France and we're in Russia and a bunch of other countries. So at SEMA, this started about 5 years ago. We had people that came from France to meet me, okay? And they can't speak English. So they come up to the table and they're looking at me and all they're speaking is French. And I'm like, I can't speak French. Evidently, it's like, I just want to hear how they dub me in France.
Yeah, no kidding. No kidding. You did. One cheese.
The one thing, and this is the thing that Lou and I have always shared, we always have the laugh, which is awesome. Because, and people have asked about that. They're like, oh man, why do you laugh so much? It's like, because we're having fun.
You got it.
We love what we do.
Yeah.
And, Lou and I were always, gosh, I always said, if we ever did something together, oh, heck, it would be awesome.
It'd be out of control.
And John would be billing us out of jail.
Yeah. Wouldn't be the first time.
Yeah.
Stace, let's back up. Let's back up a little bit because I saw a picture of a 1935 window coupe you put together. And I read, I think it was Wikipedia, that's what you drove in high school. So where did you get your car inspiration? Where did it all start? Because a lot of guys have an uncle, their dad, somebody somewhere along the line was digging. There it is there.
That's it.
You know what I'm saying? And somewhere somebody influenced you or it just dropped out of the sky. Tell me how this all started and tell me about this car.
Well, I was, when I was in grade school, the movie American Graffiti came out.
Yep.
And that changed my life,
Yeah.
As far as that went. And you see the car. I mean, I had to have John Milner's car.
Yeah.
That's as close as I could get in high school. And the little Toyota that was in the garage, I went through about 4 transmissions as I was learning to speed shift in Dad's Toyota. And they go, the transmission is out of the Toyota. That is just crap, we were shifting it without the clutch, man.
Yeah.
But anyway, I had to have that car, and that's what I drove in high school. And, I was that car guy. And it was just, you know, I had it. I was always a car guy, clear back from the Hot Wheels days to model building and stuff, and the go-karts and this and that. But my first car was that, and it didn't have a gas gauge. I mean, I'm going out on dates. I'm sticking the stick in the gas tank in the back. And the crazy thing is, I would go out to try to street race. And at that time, street racing wasn't as hot as it used to be.
Right.
And so these girls would pull up, you know, these carloads of girls, and they're like, hey, you know, can we ride with you? And I'm like, no, you can't add weight to my car. Like, and I didn't realize at the time that you don't talk about weight. Yeah, so they're like, we don't want to ride with you. I didn't want to do anyway.
Yeah. I also saw as a kid that you took and I think this was on Wikipedia too, the go-kart, you took a snowmobile engine. Tell us about, and the Volkswagen in the back, that must be your sister's.
Yeah, that was actually the first restoration I was involved in. And I was about, you know, 11, 12, 13. I don't remember exactly, but, you know, the Baja bugs were a big deal. But
yeah, they were a big deal.
That go-kart now, you guys remember Boys Life magazine?
Yep, I remember Boys Life magazine.
Okay, there was an ad for the Dune bug in the back.
Yeah, yeah. Oh, was it?
And it went through, you know, it started out with a 5-horsepower Briggs & Stratton engine, which it wasn't fast enough. And then I kept going. And this was where the real crazy stuff happened. That has a Kawasaki 350 two-stroke.
Oh, my God.
3-cylinder engine on it. And if you look at the picture, you can see it had 5 forward speeds, and the shifter is on the left. It had a clutch and everything on it. And the guy that helped me put it together was just a brilliant fabricator. And he was one of those guys, Lou, like you were talking about, in some small town. This is Twin Falls, Idaho. And he was like brilliant. And I learned everything from him. And he was the guy that really opened the door for me, you know, where I was looking at metal going, you can do anything with this stuff. You know, before it was always like, well, you got to deal with the car the way it is. He's like, no, man, we'll just cut this off. We'll put this and we'll mount that. And it was just a complete eye opener to me. And I was like, that's what I want to be able to do.
Yeah.
You know,
so the sister's VW looks like it's more custom than restoration. You got a lot going on over there.
Yeah, it was. Of course, everybody that had bugs, you know, at that point, everybody's first car was a Beetle because they were cheap. You could buy them for $50. Yeah. And, you know, everybody was doing Baja bugs and dune buggies and stuff like that. And so, yeah, that was a kit that went on it. And, you know, Jim, the guy that I had worked with that helped me with the go-kart stuff, he was the guy that originally did that. And he went to high school with my dad. And he was so cool. And man, it just, like I said, he was that guy, like you said, that influence. Because my dad wasn't much of a car guy. He was a cop. So yeah, so I had that going.
Yeah.
And but Jim and Dad let me spend time with Jim, and it just completely, you know, changed my trajectory of life. I knew what I wanted to do.
Yeah.
You know?
Do you remember what you paid for the 5-window?
$1,200.
That's a lot of money back in there. What's that, like 1980?
Yeah.
That's a lot of money back then.
Yeah, it was.
Back then.
Yeah,
there you go.
Working on it. That's how I looked most of the time, right there, going to school and everything.
Nothing wrong with that.
Yeah, no wonder the girls were all over you. Look.
Yeah.
I'll tell you. Okay, I'll tell you.
Oh yeah, I saw the one guy write in. He's like, he wants that Toyota. Yeah, those Toyota pickups are hot, man.
Yeah. Dude, that's a serious find if you land one of them now.
Oh yeah.
Especially if it's not rotted out.
Yeah.
So you grew up in Idaho.
Yeah.
What was life like there? I mean, what would a Saturday night be like in Idaho when you were a young dude?
Well,
it was a hot spot in the middle of
America. There was a lot of car culture there.
Yeah.
And you know, people would mostly go out and cruise and stuff. And there were races, you know, down some of the streets and stuff. We had a nice drag strip out there as well. But it was just, you know, people hanging out, doing that kind of thing. I was kind of disappointed at that point. Like I said, like in the early 80s, there wasn't much racing going on. Most people were kind of posturing.
Right.
You know, it was right after the Corvettes were gutless. You know, guys had the big Trans Ams, you know, that didn't have any power in them anymore. The Dukes of Hazzard days were gone, or the you know, that kind of thing. So it was just kind of hanging out. And if you wanted to race, you went to the racetrack. And that's when I really started getting into off-road stuff, because the off-road stuff was really happening. And that's where guys would go out and run their stuff. And a lot of pre-runners out there, a lot of desert trucks, you know, a lot of that kind of thing. So, and then, like you said, talking about things that changed you, you know, I went to a movie. This was about 1976, and I'm out with a bunch of friends, and it was just crap movie, and we're hanging out, and the movie was called Take This Job and Shove It.
Yep.
And all of a sudden, this blue truck rolls in, and it's Bigfoot. And I was like, and that had those steering axles front and rear. And I was gone, man. I was like, what is that?
Yeah.
And I laid in bed that night thinking, how did they do that? You know, and I told that story to Bob Chandler. We did a whole story on Bigfoot a few years ago. And that thing was that just completely changed my whole thinking about stuff too.
Yeah.
And
how come you never built a monster truck?
Well, that's kind of what Sergeant Rock is.
No, I mean like Bigfoot monster truck. I mean, I know Sergeant Rock's a big truck, but I mean,
yeah.
How come you never went all out and did one? I mean, that's right in your wheelhouse, dude.
You know, I almost did it to Sergeant Rock. I almost took it that far. But
really?
Yeah, I just, you know, the thing is, with the monster truck thing now, you have the fiberglass bodies and you have the full chassis and all that stuff. And, you know, I wasn't going to compete with it. I've got a lot of friends that do compete in their monster trucks. They want me to come out and drive, kind of thing.
Yeah.
So, you know, I've considered doing that. But as far as building them, they're so hard to get around. You know,
it's true. So. It's not like you're gonna drive around the street.
So, Stacy, what took you from? Does your family still live in Idaho?
Yeah, my parents are still there,
and you moved down to Nashville from Idaho, right? What was that? What was the thinking there, and why?
Well, I was a professional musician. I started playing professionally when I was 15, and so I dropped out of college after 1 year because I realized that college isn't for everybody. I just wasn't a college guy.
Yeah.
And there's nothing wrong with that. You know, I was a hands-on guy, and now I didn't stop learning, but I just didn't need to go to college. I learned other ways. So I came back here and I wanted to be a professional musician. So I loaded up my 65 Mustang Fastback, my 2 guitars, my 1 suitcase, and $1,000, and came back here and started starving. And you know, so for about 25 years, that's what I did. I was a hired gun. I played at Opryland. I was a session player. I did all kinds of stuff, you know. And
who's that with you there? Explain who that is.
That's Ted Nugent.
That's pretty damn cool.
That's the Motor City Madman.
Yeah, and so we were jamming in the shop. I've had him on the show a couple of times. I did some stuff on one of his Broncos, and Ted's a hoot, man.
Yeah.
He's and see that guitar right there that he's got? I've actually got it here. I usually do a custom guitar that goes with my big builds, and that's the guitar that went with that one.
Yeah, because you did a Bronco for him, right? It was
his Zebra Bronco.
Zebra, yeah. I remember seeing that one.
Yeah, we did some work on it. Yeah, that was a cool project.
Yes, that's awesome.
So alongside the musician part of things, right, in Nashville, to get things going, you started Rattle Trap, the shop.
Yeah.
Right. Tell us about that and what that took and what you were thinking there.
Well, here's what was going on, because I was always a car guy. So I'm going in the recording studio and my hands are just dirty and beat up, scars all over me. And guys are like, dude, what is up? Yeah. And I'm like, you know, I was working on my car. So they go out in the parking lot, you know, and my daily drivers were like a 64 Vet and, you know, the Mustangs. And then I got into Mopars. I liked everything.
Yeah.
You know, you never knew what I was going to show up in. And so I started to get really known for my cars. So it was like, it's that guitar player with all those crazy cars. And so then people started saying, hey, can you build me something? And I was already taking cars, and just restoring them and building them and just turning and selling them.
Yeah.
That's what I was doing in the shop. And so it just naturally springboarded. I just opened a shop and started doing that.
Yeah.
And man, I had all kinds of business, more than I could handle, and the thing was, it was all custom work. I tried to stay away from like just general mechanic work because I just wasn't into that. I could do it, but the guys would come in and go, listen, man, my door handles on my Honda are broken. And I'd be like, listen, there's a guy down the road that does great Honda work. Now, if you want a V8 in that thing or to chop the top, that's what we'll do.
Yeah. That's the way. That's the way I do it. Yeah, I don't blame you.
And so that's what I had going when I originally got the call from RTM to do trucks. And I actually the demo that I put together right there in the shop. So that's kind of how that went. But yeah, so the music part still to this day goes hand in hand. I do a lot in the music industry. My daughter just came out with her first album. So she's pushing that. So we're excited about that.
Congratulations.
Yeah. She let dad do the guitar work on it.
Oh, that's pretty cool. So. That's really cool.
I was like,
I hope so. I mean, she doesn't have to hire a guitarist. No. She owes you that much, Stacy.
Yes, she does. That's what I'm telling her.
She owes you that much, man.
Stace, I saw you do when I was following up, trying to get on top of the questions to ask you, but I watched a video of you at the Cobra Club talking to those guys, and there was a moment where you did, and you caught me blindsided because I had no idea where you were going, but you talked about the similarities between your birth date and Shelby and the namesake. Explain. Try to tell it just like you did at the Cobra Club, because I started laughing. I'm going, you know what? That is pretty cool. The way you explained it on the video was pretty badass.
Yeah.
I mean, seriously.
I don't remember it exactly, but there was always this weird connection between Carol Shelby and myself. Right back, Jim, the guy I was telling you about that I learned from that did the go-kart stuff. This was like in the late 70s. I was just a kid. And he wanted to build a Cobra replica. And it was an Arnett's Cobra. That was the company that made the kit. So that's what I thought the car was called. I didn't know who Carol Shelby was, anything. And so I wanted to do a Cobra. I fell in love with the cars because Jim loved them. So I was always kind of following the Cobra. And then when I get into college, I'm wasting time in the library. And I find this book called The Cobra Story, because I'm reading just car books. So I'm thinking, and like the nature section was right beside. So I'm like, oh, this is about snakes, which is cool. So I pull out this book and it's Carol's autobiography. So I just, completely devoured that book. And so now I knew where the Shelby, Cobra, and Carol all worked together. And so I always kind of followed him. And then somewhere along the line, I find out that his birthday is January 11th. And I'm like, well, that's weird because mine's January 11th. So then I get to looking at it, and his is January 11th, 1923, and mine is 1963. We're exactly 40 years apart. And I'm like, we're 40 years apart. We're both into cars, and we both have girl names. So what the heck?
It's kismet. It was a match made in heaven.
I told that to Gil Banks. I was like, you and I, this was when Carol was still alive. I said, we need to open up Carol, Stacy, and Gail's salon or something. And people will think it's a bunch of girls. Gail
and sell car parts out of it.
Yeah.
I think it's a little easier now to have a girl's name than it was back when you were growing up, because it was just different. A boy named Sue was out, the whole thing. That whole now I think if have a girl's name, it's a little different. You're safe. But that is a funny
the
story.
thing
When
is,
you were
it was
telling it, I
different
thought that's
enough to
funny.
where people, they didn't really hear much about it. Nobody really knew any Stacy's. It
Right.
was mostly girls that would give you a hard time about it. Stacy, that's a girl's name. And
Did you ever ask your parents why they did that? Did you ever ask
I
them
do,
what happened?
and they don't get a good answer. They're like, "Oh, I think you liked it." It's like, well, thanks a lot. The funny thing is, and this has happened several times, Catherine and I will go out. Catherine's my wife, and we'll go out, and people will come up to us and like for a table, and it's Stacy and Catherine.
Right.
So they'll look at her and they'll say, "Oh, you must be Stacy," and then they look over at me and go, And I say, "Yeah, we're a lesbian couple." It's like, what the heck?
Yeah. Yeah.
That's so. You're standing here together. What the hell? That makes no sense.
Oh yeah.
But it doesn't surprise me. It doesn't surprise me.
No, it's funny, and I just laugh about it. It's funny.
So, Stace, you're still in Nashville now?
Yeah.
Yeah, that's pretty cool. You never left. What year did you move there?
I'm 84.
Oh, man, that's a long time.
It is.
Yeah. I've been here a long time.
Man.
And seen a lot of changes in Nashville. That's for sure, man.
Oh, I'm sure it's grown since you've been there.
Yeah.
Man.
Yeah, and the car culture has changed. The city has changed, and it's been really fun. A lot of the people now. It's funny that the guys, the car guys and the music people and stuff, they're all like executives now.
Yeah. That's great. Yeah.
I got to tell you, Stacy, Mike Buca from DEI, he called me. He says, Stacy's on the show tomorrow. I said, yeah. And he kept me on the phone for about 40 minutes. And he says, I got a story for you. And I wanted to get you to tell the story because he was telling it. And I'm like, wait a minute, what? But his version is basically he was shipping a truck that he built out to SEMA. They were going to give it away for DEI.
Yes.
And he said he called the shipping company 5 days later. His truck is nowhere to be found.
Yeah.
So he's like, he kept calling the company, calling the transportation company. Where is it? They said, we don't know. They were keeping quiet.
Yeah.
Finally, he calls 11 o'clock at night. The guy that's sweeping the floors up answers the phone and says, listen, he goes, I'm not supposed to tell you this, but they think your car is at an auction in Nashville.
Yes.
So he tells me, he goes, I'm thinking, who do I know? Who do I know? He says, he called you at like 11 o'clock at night.
Yes.
I said, can you do me a favor and go check this out? And I'm going to hand the rest of the story over to you because the way he told the story, it was like you had a cape on with the S on the chest and safety tag, got the thing out the SEMA. And I was like, he goes, ask him. What's the story? Because what he explained did not sound like what I thought of you. It sounded like, pretty daring.
Okay. So basically what happened is there's an auto auction in downtown Nashville, and it's not a Mecum auction. Let's just say that. Mm-hmm. It's a pretty rough part of town. Matter of fact, it is the roughest part of town. That's where all the hookers are and all of the pimps and all the stuff right down on Dickerson Road at the time. And so he calls me up and he says, the truck is there. Now, we had the truck on the show. I was familiar with the truck. And he said, I think these guys, they're trying to pull the shady one on me. And he said, I need you to go get that truck if you can. And I'm like, well, you have keys? Can you get me in? And so he said, yeah. He said, here's the guy to talk to. So I go down there and I drive by, and sure enough, I see it in the fence. And so I'm like, okay, I need to go in there. And a lot of that stuff is bravado anyway. And so I drive in there. I had my trailer with me. So I drive in, and the guy was like, what do you want? And he was kind of this rough guy. He's kind of like Lou, kind of rough, And he said, so what's up? And I said, well, I'm here to pick that truck up, because, we're supposed to, I made up some story. I don't remember what it was. But I didn't even give him a chance to say no. I said, that belongs to so-and-so, and we're going to pick it up and that kind of deal. Fortunately, this guy didn't really know. He was kind of the gatekeeper.
Yeah.
So, he was like, yeah, whatever. Man, I went in there, I loaded that thing up, strapped it down, and I was out of there and got it back to Mike. I don't know what the deal was. I don't know how they had gotten it, but somebody had grabbed that thing and they had it stuck back in there. and it was a
That's
nice truck.
crazy.
Yeah.
He said the transportation guy blew a gasket and was trying to sell the thing for whatever he could through the auction. I don't know how they could do that without a title and all the paperwork through there, but
well,
he said it was
the auction. So I mean, you know,
yeah, he said it was enclosed and backed up against the fence. Somehow you got the trailer because it was an enclosed trailer. The guy picked it up in. Somehow you got the thing open, got it out. I guess that's, you know, maybe cut the lock, whatever. But he also said that it was, believe it or not, it wasn't scratched or harmed. He thought he was going to get the thing in pieces because he got done building it from what he said. It sounded pretty crazy. And then he got it to SEMA, loaded it, got it to SEMA. He was so nervous. He was nervous telling me the story because they actually raffled off or gave the truck away and they were flying the guy into SEMA to pick it up. And they didn't even have the truck days beforehand.
Damn.
Yeah.
So he was stressing.
Deal. Yeah, it was a bad deal. And, you know, that's what car guys do, man. We help each other out with that stuff.
Yeah.
And, you know, especially, you know, Mike's about the most honest guy you can imagine.
Yeah.
But you know how some of these guys get, you know, some of these transportation companies or something, they think they've been wronged or they think, and sometimes they just hold your stuff hostage.
Yeah.
You know, and, you know, and the best thing to do really is kind of go down and face them down. You know, which is exactly what I did. As like, listen, you know, this is where this needs to go. Fortunately, I think the guy was familiar with the show and stuff, so he was like, "Oh yeah, this is official. You know, this guy's supposed to be coming in," and you know, so you use that to your benefit too. It's like,
no
I'm
kidding.
supposed to be here. You know, I have a signed something from somebody.
Yeah.
But,
That's crazy though, man.
It is pretty crazy.
Tried to jack his truck. That's nuts. I don't get it.
Stace, when you left trucks and started your own production company, Rattle Trap, I mean, that's a big leap of faith to be able to go, you know what, forget it. I figured it out. I'm going to do it on my own. And you've been doing it hard for what, 15 years now?
15 years, yeah.
Right. So you've been, you know, Lou and I were talking. I don't know anybody else that's been constant for that amount of time in the car world.
Yeah.
That hasn't come and gone. But explain to everybody, you know, the transition into GearZ, what you were thinking, the risk, the chances, and why.
Well, one of the things that the problem with trucks, you know, and it's the same thing that Lou ran into with muscle car, the very title of the show limits the show.
Yeah.
You know, because obviously I like more than just trucks, and I couldn't do anything. I couldn't do any cars. You know, I couldn't even really do street rods unless they were trucks, you know, and I couldn't branch out into the mechanical world, which every car guy is. We like everything. I mean, I have tracked vehicles here. I've got, you know, just crazy stuff. I couldn't do anything with the Blue Angels, any of that kind of stuff. And so I was getting bored with trucks. I mean, how many lift kits can you put on Jeeps?
Yeah.
You know? And it was getting to the point where I don't ever like to repeat myself. I like to be moving forward. And so I knew, you know, just coming out of the music industry, you know, nothing lasts forever. Every show gets canceled. Every, you know, hit record is no longer a hit. You got to be moving to the next thing.
Mm-hmm.
And I knew that if I didn't have ownership of something, I saw this happen to all my friends in the music industry. You know, they'd be on the road with Garth Brooks or, you know, James Taylor or whoever for years. And then finally they'd come in and go, well, it's been great. Thanks a lot. And for 30 years on the road with us, you know, you get a big wet kiss, you know.
Yeah.
You know, so I didn't want that to happen. So I knew that, you know, just like Lou was saying, they rerun muscle car, they rerun trucks, and I don't get a dime.
Yep.
Lou doesn't get a dime, you know, and that's just how it is. You know, Mike Rowe talks about that. Every time you see Dirty Jobs, he does not get a dime because Discovery owned that show. And that's just how it is. Yeah. So I was like, you know, I want to own it and I want to come up with a concept that could be evergreen. I could do anything, you know, if the whole economy tanks and everybody rides bicycles, I can still do how to. And that's where the idea for GearZ came from. Yeah. You know, that I can do anything. And so that was the concept. Now, you know, that was a tough decision to make because I was making 150 grand a year.
Yeah.
You know, which was a lot of money.
Yeah.
You know, and but I was also, like Lou kind of said, there was some management issues and there were some things that I knew it was time to go.
Yeah.
And so it was worth it. But that first jump, as Lou can attest, you know, everybody's like, yeah, do it, man, do it. We're right there with you. And then when you do it, they're like, well, you know,
Yeah. Security.
I tell you what, let it go for a year.
Yeah.
And then when it's successful, then, you know, we'll come on. So I didn't realize that I was competing with my own legacy.
Yeah.
Because guys that were sponsoring trucks were now like, well, you know, Stacy, we sponsored you on trucks and we like that, but this new show, we don't know yet. So that was difficult, you know, the first year.
Yeah. Yeah.
Trying to make that transition.
Yeah.
You know, and I had to make the only real project I kept over was Sergeant Rock, you know, and I had several others. When I saw one of the guys asked about the Harry Hauler, that was one of the few vehicles that I got rid of before I finished it. And I hate that. I'd love to find that truck and finish it.
Yeah.
But the reason I did it is because if I carried over 2 or 3 projects from trucks, I'm basically just doing trucks.
Yeah.
And I didn't want to do that. So I got rid of the Harry Hauler and started going into the 32 Roadster, the Rat Roaster, because it was a car, you know, and it was like pretty much the same content. It's just I'm doing a car. So people are like, oh, he's doing cars too. So
Yeah. Yeah.
that transition.
Yeah. It makes sense.
When I was talking to Mike said, he goes, the one thing with Stacy is Stacy does everything.
Yeah.
And I said, I know. And I started laughing. He goes, what are you laughing at? I said, you know, I sent him an email saying, you got any pictures to send over? I said, Stacy blasted, was right on top of it, sent everything over. Here you go. I said, he went into producer mode. I'll take care of it. I got it. And I said, you know how many people I asked that of? I go, listen, do you have this? Do you have that? Sometimes it's silent. Sometimes I get a response. But you're one of the few guys that was on top. That's why I was a little surprised. I'm like, where is he? It's 5 of. What are we doing? Because we do everything here last minute. Lou and I just wing it most times. You know, and I could tell you were different. And I'm like, well, we're going to. And I was like, well, maybe I was wrong. You know, you were a little late. But I wanted to say.
John does talking points, but that doesn't mean we follow them.
No, I mean, at that point, I throw it out the window.
I knew that. Talking points are out.
Yeah. But Stacy, I don't know if you remember, but I was filming with Richard Petty at SEMA. You came down the stairs and you went, hey, whoa, what? And we talked for a minute and you gave me your card and it's metal. Yes. And I was like,
metal card. Yes.
I was like, how cool I stared at this thing for like 15 minutes going, how cool is this shit? I mean, it's a metal card.
Yeah.
You know? And he's like, here, give me a buzz. You need help. You need this. I mean, I was like, I met you like for 3 seconds. And nicest guy. So when I texted you last week or whenever it was 2 weeks ago, I'm like, yeah, I don't know if you remember, but you know, me and Lou tag team this thing now, but it was pretty cool. It's you and the guy Noah from Speed is the New Black. He has a metal card too, but it doesn't have color like yours. Yours looks like it's, it's actually, there's no information. It's the front side, as you know.
Yeah. Just try to get that through the airport now.
Oh yeah, no kidding, right? Well, you can't go to the airport anyway unless you've had the shot.
Yeah, actually, just put a mask on that thing, and you'll be able to get to the airport.
You'll be fine. There you go. There you go.
So, Stace, I saw too when I was looking around that you're doing a podcast.
Yeah.
What's the deal with that?
You know, we started doing that. I guess we're on season 2 on that. I would love to have you on.
Whatever you want to do it.
Yeah. Basically it's called Tales of a Gearhead. And it's just one of the things that I'm doing on it is I'm answering questions. And I don't do it live like this because it's hard to answer questions live. But I may do that this year. We're actually talking about doing some live stuff. But one of the things that I noticed that you had like the click and clacks and stuff like that talked about general car maintenance.
Yeah.
But nobody was covering anything that was aftermarket oriented. And Lou, you know why? I mean, the answers are huge.
Yeah.
Because you've got to cover all of it because people are like, how do I put an LS into an S10?
Yeah.
You know, we could talk for hours about that.
Yeah. Yeah.
So what I wanted to do is deal with restoration or custom questions, and then also just talk about some of the crazy things that I've done over the years, or people I've known, or something like that. So you would be perfect for that. And,
yeah. Anytime you want to do it, man, just let me know.
And we do a lot of music stuff too. So
Yeah.
are you a musician at all, Lou?
No, I can't carry a tune. You kidding me?
Spoons. You can play the spoons.
I can't do. Please.
I just want to hand you a guitar, man, and just like go.
No, you know, I'm not gonna lie to you. I'm not gonna lie. I always thought that playing the piano would be cool, and the only reason why is because I think of Bugs Bunny. You know what I mean? I
know the cartoon.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Either that or like Harpo Marx, because I remember watching Harpo Marx play with 2 fingers. You know, I just think it would be fun. That's the only reason why. But I have no musical skill at all. I don't have it. I can weld my ass over and can't play shit.
Do I? No, I don't have. I don't have any. But I listened to the podcast where you talked about the chips, so it was probably pretty recent. The chips for the trucks. Yeah. And Lou and I just days before, you know, I turned that on. We're talking almost the same thing about the chips being in. You know, the cars being set, the trucks being set aside because they can't get the chips in.
Yeah.
I saw a video online. Guys said they were all 2021s that were sitting there wasting because they needed $100 worth of chips.
Yeah.
And, you know, you look at the ports are all backed up. They can't get anything in, which to me is a huge red flag. We talked about this last week a little bit when we just took calls and talked nonsense, but I'm wondering when that's going to turn around. What are they going to do with the 2021s? You know, I think this whole economy and that supply chain being hung up is going to be a bigger issue than most people think right now.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
You know, with food, the shelving. I mean, when Costco announces you can only take, you know, one thing of toilet paper out at a time, they have trouble with their supply chains. If they're not supplying them or Walmart, I think we're in a little bit of trouble. You know,
we're in big trouble.
Yeah. Yeah. And people are acting like, you know, I still got this, I still got that, I'm fine. But it's going to dry up if they don't do something.
Yep.
Yeah.
And I saw online, not to go long, but I saw online a guy try to explain it in California. And he said Newsom passed a law that said your tractor trailer has to be a 2011 or newer.
Yep.
2035, it can't be petroleum based. It has to be electric. And they don't make electric. They're working on the electric 18 wheelers right now. They don't have them figured out. So guys are not spending the money on something that's going to be obsolete and won't get their mileage out of it. And he also says the trucking is the hugest issue. And guys they also did away with the independently owned and operated trucks in California, which means everybody's got to be union and part of a big family. And they're standing there wondering how come the truckers aren't coming in and getting, you know, unloading.
Well, and not only that, you know, there's a massive shortage of truckers. There just is. They don't have enough. And the ports don't run 24 hours a day. No. They're not shipping containers out at 2-3 o'clock in the morning. You got to remember that too. And you can't buy a new truck. I was talking to my friend Jim. He's leased on with Bennett down out of Atlanta. And he was in their yard talking to one of the other drivers. And this guy was saying that his son had ordered a truck like in April or something. And he had just gotten word from PACCAR that here's your money back. And we can't, because we don't have the parts, we're not going to build your truck. You might get it next year. Oh, and by the way, there's going to be 20% more tacked onto it because of all the increases. So they're canceling orders.
Oh yeah.
So
that's not good.
Even if you had drivers, you got to get trucks.
Yeah.
Stacy, my point, you were right on target, and we were almost within 24 hours of each other from what I saw, talking about the same subject. So it is a concern. I think it's a bigger issue than most people think it is my point. But I enjoyed the podcast. I thought it was pretty cool.
It's massive. We try to hit those things. I've got a real deep dive thing. We talk about the electric cars and stuff too. And, you know, I try to tell everybody I'm a tech guy, I'm a car guy. So if it's good stuff, I'm for it. But if it's not, I'm going to be the one that points, you know, the finger
Right.
at it.
Right.
You know, and I was like that with superchargers and turbos and nitrous and anything like that. And the same thing with electric. You know, if you pull the politics out of it and you start just looking at what's going on there, you know, I did one thing on there. So I was like, you know what? I'm just going to do a deep dive into this thing and just go through the life of an electric car and the life of a regular car
Yeah.
and go through the whole thing. And I'm going to go through that whole deal. It's a big thing, but man, I'll tell you what, it is eye-opening.
Did you air that yet? Or is that something you have posted?
I have not done it yet. I'm probably going to do it this week.
Well, let us know when you put that up, because then we'll blast that on the page and let people, if you got a link for it, you know, send it over. We'll get that out, because I think that's interesting. I think that, you know, I have not seen, you know, dollar for dollar per mile what it takes to charge a vehicle, as opposed to per, you know, everybody talks, you know, per gallon per mile kind of thing.
Oh yeah.
But nobody has done a side by side on what that cost in coal or petroleum or whatever it is to charge that vehicle up.
Yeah.
The other thing is, if everybody plugs in at night, you and your neighbors, we can't support that draw.
No.
Because I know up here, when we have a 98-degree day, they're begging you, please turn your air condition down, because they can't even control, they can't support it. So if everybody plugs in their car and your F-150 can power a house for 4 days, how much power you drawing to fill your tank up overnight, you know, fill your battery. And nobody's figured out. They act like, oh yeah, let's pass the law first and figure it out later, because we'll push it into that. That's not how things work. In my opinion, it's not safe.
No, exactly. And the thing is, I've had discussions with people about that, and they're all like, well, you know, hey, we'll figure it out then. It's like, that's like jumping off a cliff and trying to develop the wings on the way down.
Yeah.
That's stupid. Who does that?
Nobody. That's exactly it.
Yeah. So,
Our government
you know,
does that.
The big thing is, after all of this, and you'll hear it on that, I can say, you know, that there is, I can say without doubt, with the way things are right now, it is mathematically impossible for us to be all electric. It's mathematically impossible. Just like, you know, when the Titanic hit the iceberg and the designer of the ship was on board, and he went down and looked at the damage, and he told the captain within 15 minutes, he said, this ship's going to sink. And the captain went, you're crazy. Get out of here. And the ship sank, because the guy did the math work on it. And it's like, there's no way. And there is no way that we can supply enough electricity and you know, enough vehicles and get enough batteries and all that stuff. It's not even close.
No, they're putting up the things are ass backwards.
You'll be really interested to see, you know, that's where all of our power comes from gas and diesel generators.
Yeah.
You know? And unless we build a whole bunch of nuclear plants, you know, which would help.
Yeah. So how efficient is it to gas that thing up, to get the electricity going, to be able, whatever happened to Lou here, to be able to charge that battery? I mean, there's a loss in each one of those steps.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
Oh, absolutely.
So not to switch gears, but you're on Huckabee. And I saw part of the interview, and I saw the photo.
Yeah.
What was going on there? What were you doing? What'd you talk about? I mean, Huckabee seems like a pretty nice guy, is he not? Were you in Arkansas? Where was that at?
That was here in Nashville.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, and see, there's one of the guitars. That's the Sergeant Rock guitar in the foreground. And we had Sergeant Rock on display. That was actually out at for Veterans Day a couple years ago. And you know, they had me on there to talk about veterans and cars and that kind of stuff. It wasn't political at all.
Right.
You know, and you know, it was just really cool. And he's you know, he's a big music guy. So I had him come out, and we played a bunch of Beatles stuff, and, you know, had a good time with that. But he's not much of a car guy, but I think I brought him over to the dark side a little bit, you know, because I kept, you know, eventually, just anybody, if you talk to him long enough, you're going to find some sort of car connection.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And, but it was great to talk with him. And, you know, just talking about veterans. Obviously, we do a lot with the military. I don't think we do enough for our veterans. I don't think we do enough for our police, you know. And you know, and I was a notorious street racer, but my dad was a cop, and I was, you know, brought up to respect authority, you know. And if you got caught, you got caught.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And so I just need to make sure I outran everybody else.
Well, yeah. I mean, you know, the thing is, the you know, the basic respect that we were raised with is gone now.
Yeah.
I mean, that's what it comes down to. It's pretty much
It's
gone.
timeout. Everybody got a timeout.
Yeah, and nobody
Everybody
wants
gets
to
a
take
trophy.
ownership of what
Everybody
they
has to
do.
be equal.
Yeah, it's crazy.
Stacy, on the guitars that you showed a couple of shots, you had the guitars, and you said you made a guitar for the builds typically, and you just showed the one there. What's that process like? Is that hands-on for you? You got somebody doing it? What's that all about?
It's very hands-on for me. Some of them are the first two that I did the Copperhead and Crazy Horse guitars. This is back when I was on trucks, and I went to the Gibson custom shop, and we just talked about, you know, what I wanted, and they kind of did them themselves. They did an SG, and they did a Les Paul, and they did a limited run of 25 of each of those. And then, you know, when I went to GearZ, a lot of the ones that, you know, I've done, like a Paul Reed Smith was one of the guitars that goes with the V8 Interceptor. It was destroyed in the flood, so I had a friend of mine, you know, refurbish it. But then a lot of the ones, like the Rat Roaster one, the one with that Nugent was playing with the exhaust on it, you know, because that was a 32 Ford. So I was like, man, I need a rockabilly guitar, man. I need that Chuck Berry thing, you know, that Brian Setzer guitar.
Yeah,
And
yeah.
it had to be a 335. And so I went to Gibson, and they gave me one, but I said, I want to put an exhaust system in it. And they're like, well, we can't do that. So they gave me the guitar, and I took it home, and I made an exhaust system for it. And, you know, I've got it here. Let me show it to you.
Yeah,
That's awesome.
that's pretty cool.
Awesome.
So,
Oh
There you
yeah.
go. Yeah, right.
and see, you can still set it on your leg there, you know.
Yeah. That's
And,
pretty
you know,
cool.
got the little elf here. Now the next one, I said, because I did this all in stainless steel, so it's really heavy.
Yeah.
Next time I'll do it in aluminum.
Yeah.
I don't know if you saw this. I had Von Hot Rod on the show.
Mhm.
Yeah.
So I had him, you know, do all this airbrushing, and he did a great job on it.
Dude,
Yeah.
that's a beautiful guitar.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it came out really good.
Yeah.
Now,
that's-
what model is that again?
That's a Gibson 335.
A 335. Okay.
Oh yeah, and we did all kinds of. It's got the same pickup configuration as Jimmy Page's guitar with Led Zeppelin.
Okay.
The dude that set it up for me, he was like, man. So this sucker will rock, man.
the picture, Stace, the picture that we showed at the beginning of the guy, I don't know if it was that guitar. Was that Jimi Hendrix bass player?
Yeah, that's Billy Cox.
How'd you
Yeah.
pull this off? What's going on here?
All right. Now this is the crazy thing, and like I said, I've got several books that I've written, and I've got some crazy stuff coming together. I've got another book coming out that kind of talks about this stuff. But when I was in town, you know, like I said, I was a musician, and I was playing at Opryland, which was pretty much, you know, 10 months out of the year. So there was a couple months that you didn't have a job. So you drew unemployment, or you got some sort of job or whatever. And a friend of mine had a pawn shop downtown Nashville. So I'm working at this pawn shop and in downtown Nashville, and this dude walks in a business suit, and he goes, you know who that is? And I'm like, no. So that's Billy Cox. He played bass for Jimi Hendrix. And so we hit it off because I did all the music stuff in there. And Billy and I have been friends for decades. And so when I was doing the Rat Roaster, because it was a 60s style build,
Right.
I said, we got to get Billy in here. We got to talk about Jimmy. And so I sat down with him, and Billy came in. And one of the things I got a chance, and with a lot of these guys, I get a chance to sit down with them and get them off their talking points.
Mhm.
Yeah.
The first thing he did is he started talking about Woodstock and all that stuff, which is great. but everybody's heard that story.
Yeah.
And then I was like, okay, Billy, let's talk about the first time you and Jimmy met and this kind of thing. And now I'm starting to get gold that nobody's talked about before.
Right.
And I've got that relationship with Billy. The crazy thing is, a few months ago, I run into him at one of the restaurants, and he goes, I said, Billy, what are you doing? He goes, well, I'm getting ready to go out on the road on this Hendrix tour. He said, why don't you come out and play guitar for me? And I'm like, I was tempted, man. I was like, that would be awesome. But
that would be.
Just, it's been so long. I'd have to woodshed up and kind of, work it back up. But it was cool. It was cool. And I was very flattered that he would, some of my earliest sessions I did with Billy. Great bass player, great guy. And I'll tell you what, man, he's one of those survivors. The stories that he's got, the guy has been through everything and he's survived it. Most of those guys didn't make it.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah.
Stace, you ever find yourself sitting next to somebody, interviewing somebody, or come across somebody where you just really can't believe, TV, GearZ, and everything made it happen, and you're like, I almost pinch myself because, Ted Nugent is a big deal.
Yeah.
That guy was a rock star. We were kids.
Oh yeah.
Cat scratch fever and shit. That's pretty big.
Oh yeah.
And you mentioned a couple other people, but is there anybody else that you went, I can't believe it, like you were starstruck a little bit, other than Lou? That is, other than Lou. Yeah. Lou's a good looking man. Don't think we hadn't noticed. No, I'll tell you what, there's been some. I was going around the racetrack with Mario Andretti one time.
Mario.
And we're driving, and I'm like, this is great. It's a summer day. It's not my truck, so if he wrecks it, I don't care. And it was really cool. But I'll tell you one of the things, I had always wanted to meet Les Paul. And he was the original guy. When I was doing Sergeant Rock, I was kind of like, who is Sergeant Rock? Who gets that honor? Well, that's hard to give it to a person. But Les Paul was the guy that pretty much invented the solid body electric guitar. And he was a World War II vet. And
I didn't know that.
Yes. And I'm like, he would be perfect because he invented, multi-track recording and all this stuff. And so I got on the phone. I don't even know how I hooked up with him. I knew one of his guitar players. But I call this number. He says, yeah, call this number. And Les picks up the phone. And I'm talking with Les Paul. He's 93 years old. And he's going through this stuff. And I'm like, I'm talking to Les Paul, man.
Yeah.
The guy. And it was like, I wasn't even really prepared for it. And so I'm talking with it. And it's like, and he starts talking about, he goes, I got this recording on this 1-inch tape of this show we did back in the 40s called the Listerine Hour. And he said,
Listerine Hour.
Yeah. And he said, can you help me, bring some of this off of the tape and archive it? And I was like, well, sure. I said, who do you have on there? He says, well, Judy Garland and Billie Holiday. And I'm like, what?
Yeah.
And he had all this stuff.
Crazy.
Yeah. So, and then the crazy thing is, I'm talking with Les, and he was like, listen, we play every Monday night at the club in New York. You're welcome to come and sit in. It's going to be great. And I was in the middle of my season. You know how that goes, Lou. And 3 months later, Les was dead.
Oh.
I never got. So I try to always, when I get a chance, man, I try to jump on that stuff.
Right. You have to. You have to.
I missed the pilot of the Memphis Belle by 30 minutes. Same deal.
Oh.
We were down in Memphis shooting when I was getting ready to do all that stuff with Sergeant Rock, and the guys called me from the Bell, and they said the pilot's here. I forget his name now, but they said he's here and he's getting ready to go to lunch. And I was like in the middle of a shoot over at another place. And by the time we got there, they're like, yeah, he left about 30 minutes ago.
Oh.
6 months later, he's gone.
Damn.
Wow.
That's crazy. Dude, it's amazing. The thing that TV's really done for me, which it's done for you, is it's allowed you to meet these people. You know what I mean? That's the one thing that TV has done for me that I appreciate more than anything else. So yeah, that's cool. Because like I'm not even a musician, and I knew of a Les Paul guitar.
Yeah.
You know, I had no idea he was a World War II vet, and I had no, I didn't know he was the guy who invented the solid body guitar. I had no idea. You know.
Oh yeah.
Dude, who's 55 is that?
Oh, that was K&N's. I was out doing the Silver State Classic.
Oh, you did the Silver State Classic in that?
Did you get a ticket?
Well, I was supposed to. Until this happened.
You look like you said, "I'm not driving." The guy got out and ran off. Wasn't me.
What really happened is I blew the rear end out of the car. That's a whole nother story.
Oh man.
Yeah. I took it out to the drag strip, and all the cameras were rolling, and I've got a bit of a reputation for being hard on stuff.
Yeah.
I just drive stuff hard. I mean, I don't intentionally try to tear things up. I don't like that, but you got to put it to the test. So I go out to K&N. We're doing a story on them, and they said, "Yeah, we want to take this 55 out to the drag strip, and we want you to drive it." And I'm like, "Well, how hard do you want me to drive it?" Yeah. They're like, "Well, it's got Art Morrison chassis under it, and just you can't hurt this car." Oh, God.
Famous last words.
Yeah, well, I'm not going to try to hurt it, but I am going to. So we get out there, and everybody's lined up, and all the camera crews are there and everything, and the engine builder's there and everything. So a good launch for me off of a drag strip is about 4,000 RPM. 4,000, 4,500 is a really nice launch. It's not overly hard, but it's just enough to really, see what the car's going to do. So that's about what I did. And I dumped that thing. And that rear end went all kinds of sideways, and the car went sideways, and, the motor quit, and it was just this horrific thing. Drive shaft flew out, all this stuff.
Damn.
So I get out of the car, and they're all looking at me like, "What did you do?"
Yeah, right.
And I'm like, "Well, you heard me. I didn't do anything. I didn't do anything you wouldn't do on a Saturday night on the street."
Listen, I saw you run that Trans Am from year one. I saw that video the other day. Yeah. Man, you were beating the shit out of that thing. But I was so jealous. So jealous. I'm like, it was launching.
Oh,
that thing looked like it was put together pretty well.
That was a nice car.
Yeah.
But anyway, so to show that I hadn't done that, I said, we need to take this car right back to K&N, put it up on the lift, find out what happened. And so we did. And we're rolling cameras on that because I knew I hadn't done anything, above and beyond. And sure enough, we got up in there, and the 4-link bracket on the driver's side, it cracked right through the TIG weld, right through the weld. And the thing is, Lou, you're a welder. John, you might be too. I don't know what your background is, but I can look at a weld and I can tell if it's undercut. If there's not enough metal in it and stuff like that. And these were just not. They looked good, but they just didn't have enough meat on them, and it cracked right through the weld.
Yeah, they didn't have any penetration.
Yeah, and it was one of those things where it told me, a lot of these guys were building cars to look good, so they were more concerned about the looks of the welds and the looks of the things, as opposed to building something strong. Mm-hmm. And you can do a strong weld and still have it look good. Yeah, but it's a little different than somebody that's doing little spots or whatever. And so I try to tell guys, when you're buying a car that's built to drive hard, crawl up under it, look at that, know what a good weld looks like. Make sure the 4-link bars are the right diameter. Make sure that the ends are good, because a lot of these guys, there's a difference between a street rod build and a hot rod build. Yeah, something that you're going to do, especially these guys that want to get out and run road courses now. Yeah, that kind of stuff. You got to build it like that. So yeah.
Stace, we're an hour 20, but I wanted to hit you with one last thing. SEMA, you going to SEMA?
Well, right now we're on the list to go. We haven't canceled yet, but there's a lot of companies canceling. Yeah, and there's a lot of other stuff going. Yeah, I'm still hoping that we're going to do it. I'm not sure I'm going to go. One of our guys will be there, but I've got some other things that I could spend my time doing, and I'm not sure SEMA is. Put it this way, SEMA is not what it was 20 years ago.
Yeah.
You know, SEMA was a trade show and it was about the industry. And Lou, you know this, over the years, it has become a car show. It's become a circus.
Yeah.
And there's less business going on. There's less new products. There's less people getting into the industry, and there's more people coming out just to hang out.
Yeah.
And if that's where they want to go with it, they need to decide. And unfortunately, I mean, because I love SEMA, I love the organization, I love what they do, what they represent, but they've, especially after the pandemic, people realized, you know, we don't really need this anymore.
Mm-hmm.
You know, there's other things out there.
Yeah. I mean, I've only been going to SEMA for, I think, 12, 13 years, something like that.
Yeah.
And just in the time that I've been going, I've noticed a huge change. So it's just, you know, I get what they're doing because it's all about making a dollar. I understand that. But an industry show should, in my opinion, should remain an industry show. Yeah. That's how I look at it. Because, you know, the whole point of going to that is to talk to people in the industry to find out what's going on. Because I'm not going this year.
Yeah, me neither.
I'm not going to go.
The last time I was at SEMA, I could actually travel through the booths faster than I could on the walkways.
Yeah.
Because there were so many people cluttering up the walkways, you know, getting autographs and sightseeing. And I would stand in the booths and it was empty. And people would come in and go, you know, they weren't talking trade, you know, and, you know, Holly is pulled out. There's
DEI is not going to be there.
No.
They bailed.
Yeah. So
yeah, I heard a couple are bailing out, and you know all the restrictions of how many people in the booth, the mask, the test.
Yeah,
you got to do the hokey pokey to get into place.
Oh yeah, listen, they tried to make the Street Rod Nationals a mask only deal. There wasn't a mask in the whole freaking building. It's like, we're car guys, we're not going to put masks on. Good night. We breathe fumes that are poisonous every day.
Yeah, acetone, lacquer thinner. Yeah.
Yeah.
When I was out at Barrett Jackson, I think it was in June. None of that was going on. It was, you know, they had the new wing from the convention center all together. Yeah. No masks, no nothing, no temperatures. Yeah. I mean, it was wide open. So why they're, you know, putting the restrictions on things now is a little weird.
Yeah. Well, we may, like I said, we still haven't canceled yet. But man, I tell you what, it's kind of looking that way.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
Well, that's what it is. We've gone the distance. Stace, I'll be in Nashville on the 27th, 29, 30 or something. Probably be at the Wild Horse, Crazy Horse, wherever. Okay. Getting liquored up. Maybe we could talk Lou into driving down. Lou, you're not that far, are you?
7 hours. It's a drop in the hat.
Come on. We'll drink some Jack Daniels. We'll take some video.
Oh, yeah.
We'll go steal a few cars.
I can do that run with my eyes closed, sleeping in the back seat of the car. The car knows where to go.
Yeah. Listen, if you come to Nashville and you don't come and see me, you're on the list, man.
Whoa!
Come on, Lou. Do the podcast.
You need to come by. See the shop and everything.
Yes, do the podcast. Do a podcast where you talk shit.
Yeah.
I'm game. Hey, I'll do the podcast. Just tell me when and where. We'll make it happen.
2 weeks. 29. 29.
Yeah, come on down.
Yeah.
Do you still have your shop, Lou?
I'm back in my shop.
Yeah.
I don't know if you knew this, but I was in a big shop 2 hours north of me. And I got everything going for YouTube, got it all rolling. And then the guy put the building up for sale. So I moved back home to my shop. So it's crowded, it's tight, but I'm behind my house working in my shop. But I got a bulged disc in my back for the last 3 months. So I was all ready to get going and shoot some videos. I actually shot some video last week. I just got to, I got to do some more because I just can't stand it as long as I used to. So
what kind of stuff are you shooting for? Just for YouTube or what? Yeah,
I'd like to get on Amazon and all that, but right now it's all on YouTube.
Yeah.
Yeah. And then, when everything happened up there, I started doing the podcast with John in February, just so I could stay in the algorithm of YouTube,
Yeah.
So, but I mean, I got the shop ready to go. I just gotta get my back a little bit better.
Yeah.
That's what I got to do because I've already had back surgery once.
Okay.
And unfortunately, I think I'm staring at another one. So hopefully, I'm actually waiting for my MRI appointment. So see what happens.
Well, yeah. Let me know what goes on with that.
Yeah.
I've got several projects that I've got coming up this season, and there's a couple. It'd be cool to have you involved in some of them.
Yeah, dude. Anytime. I've always told you that. Anytime, man.
That would be cool. Got the two OGs in the house.
Yeah.
Stacy, listen, I appreciate you coming on. I reached out to you. It was, you got back to us real quick. It's pretty cool. It's good to see you, catch up. Got some cool stories. I'll talk Lou into coming down.
You guys too. Listen, man. Anytime you want me on, just let me know.
Yeah. Appreciate it.
Yeah.
And
not a problem.
And the same thing. You guys come down here and we'll hook up and we'll show you some of the places. We'll get you backstage at the Opry and do all kinds of crazy.
We'll go to that auction, steal a couple cars, go running. Next week we got Bad Chad's coming on.
Yeah, that'll be good. Bad Chad.
Bad Chad's coming on.
Eh?
Canadian. I told Buka, I said, yo, you see his girlfriend? He goes, yeah. I said, listen, my man Chad must be carrying around a $5 foot long. Because look at his girl. Look at him and look at his girl. Lou, you know what I'm saying. He's stopping at Subway. You know what I'm saying?
I'm with
Something's going on because he ain't no Brad Pitt. He ain't no Brad Pitt. I ain't going to say that shit when he's on the show. But he ain't no Brad Pitt. Stace, I think you're back. Here we go. Yeah, there's Brad. Ken's on a roll. Guys, I appreciate you tuning in. Next week, Bad Chad. Louie.
Yep, Bad Chad. And then in 2 weeks, we got a special guest host. I'm not going to tell you who it is, but it'll be a blast.